September 1st, 1991. The sorting. The hat dropped over Harry's eyes and the Great Hall vanished. Interesting, said a small voice in his ear. Very interesting. Harry gripped the stool. Plenty of courage, I see. A good mind, too. Talent. Oh yes, considerable talent. And a thirst. A thirst to prove yourself, to be more than what they made you. Not Slytherin, Harry thought. Not Slytherin. Not Slytherin? Are you sure? Slytherin would help you, Potter. You have the ambition. The cunning. The survival instinct of a child who learned to read danger before he could read words. Not Slytherin. Please, you say please. That's interesting too. Politeness from desperation. You learned that in the cupboard, didn't you? Learned that asking nicely sometimes prevented the worst of it. Harry said nothing. The hat was inside his head, in the places he didn't show anyone. I see the cupboard. I see the hunger. I see Uncle Vernon's belt and Aunt Petunia's indifference and the cousin who hunted you like game. I see what they made you, Potter, and I see what you could become. Gryffindor, Harry thought. Please, Gryffindor. That's where my parents were. Your parents were in Gryffindor? Yes, your mother was brave. Your father was brave. They were also dead. Bravery did not save them. Harry flinched. I do not say this to be cruel. I say this because you need a house that will keep you alive, not a house that will celebrate you for dying. You've spent 10 years surviving. You need a house that values survival. You don't want to be like them. The Slytherins. The ones the boy on the train warned you about. But Potter, the boy on the train, was a Weasley, and Weasleys have been telling people what to think about Slytherin for generations. Consider everything you know about Slytherin you learned from people who weren't in it. The hat was quiet for a moment. I'm going to put you where you'll thrive. Not where you'll be comfortable, not where you'll be loved, where you'll thrive. Slytherin. The Great Hall went silent. The kind of silence that had weight, the silence of 400 people recalculating everything they'd assumed about the boy who lived. Harry walked to the Slytherin table. The green banners, the silver serpent, the faces of students who were looking at him with something he couldn't identify because he'd never seen it directed at him before. Interest, not affection, not warmth. Interest. The calculating, evaluative attention of people who assessed everyone who entered their space, and who had just been given the most interesting person to assess in a decade. Draco Malfoy made room. The gesture was deliberate, the public, visible act of the Malfoy heir welcoming Harry Potter to the table. The gesture said, "He's ours now." "Potter," Draco said. "Malfoy," Harry said. "Welcome to Slytherin," Draco said. "Try not to look so terrified." "I'm not terrified," Harry said. "You are," Draco said. "But you're hiding it well. That's a Slytherin quality." Harry sat down at the Slytherin table in the house of Salazar Slytherin, the house that produced dark wizards, the house that Hagrid had told him was bad, the house that the boy on the train, Ron, who Harry had liked, who Harry had wanted to be friends with, had said was the worst. Across the hall at the Gryffindor table, Ron Weasley was staring at Harry with an expression that was part confusion, part betrayal, and part the early germination of something that would, over the years, harden into conviction. Harry Potter was in the wrong house, and the wrong house made him the wrong person. The first week the Slytherin common room was underground. Green light filtered through the lake. The stone walls were cold. The dormitory was a dungeon. And the dungeon was familiar, not comfortable. Familiar. Harry had lived in a cupboard for 10 years. The cupboard was dark, confined, below ground level. The Slytherin dormitory was dark, confined, below ground level. The physical similarity was accidental and devastating, because the familiarity produced the one thing Harry had not expected. The feeling of being, in a terrible way, home. "You look like you belong here," Blaise Zabini said. First night. In the dormitory. Blaise was watching Harry with the detached, analytical quality that was Blaise's defining characteristic, the observation of a person who processed the world through assessment. "I don't belong anywhere," Harry said. "That's the most Slytherin thing you've said so far," Blaise said. "How?" Harry said. "People who belong somewhere don't need to think about it," Blaise said. "People who don't belong anywhere learn to fit anywhere. Fitting anywhere is a skill. Skills are valued in Slytherin." "Gryffindor values courage," Harry said. "Gryffindor values the appearance of courage," Blaise said. "There's a difference." "What does Slytherin value?" Harry said. "Slytherin values not dying," Blaise said. "Everything else is negotiable." The first week taught Harry 3 things about Slytherin. First, the house was not what the other houses said it was. The other houses said Slytherin was evil, the house of dark wizards, the house of blood purity fanatics, the house where bad people learned to be worse. The reality was more complicated. Slytherin was a house of survivors. Children of difficult families, children of political marriages, children who had learned before Hogwarts that the world was not kind, and that the unkind world required a specific set of skills. Second, the house protected its own. This was the Slytherin quality that nobody outside Slytherin understood. When Marcus Flint, the 7th year Quidditch captain, told a group of Gryffindors to stop hexing a first-year Slytherin, the telling was not a request. The telling was an enforcement of the principle that Slytherin students were not available for targeting. Third, the house was watching Harry. Every student, every interaction, every meal, the house was evaluating the boy who lived, measuring whether Harry Potter was an asset or a liability, calculating the political implications of having the most famous child in the wizarding world wearing green. "They're watching me," Harry told Draco. Second day. "Of course they're watching you," Draco said. "You're Harry Potter, the boy who killed the Dark Lord. You're the most valuable person in Slytherin since probably ever." "I didn't kill anyone," Harry said. "I was a baby." "The story says you did," Draco said. "The story is more important than the truth." "That's," Harry started. "That's how the world works," Draco said. "Stories matter more than truth. Image matters more than reality. The sooner you learn that, the better you'll do in this house." "I don't want to play image games," Harry said. "Then you're going to have a very hard time in Slytherin," Draco said. "Because image games are all we play." The other side of the castle Ron Weasley sat at the Gryffindor table and processed the unprocessable. Harry Potter was a Slytherin. Ron had liked Harry on the train, had shared his sandwiches, had told Harry about Slytherin, the bad house, the evil house, the house where Voldemort had been sorted, had assumed, with the unexamined confidence of a boy raised on stories, that Harry would be in Gryffindor, that Harry would be at the right table, that Harry would be, by the simple mechanism of sorting, on the right side. Harry was not at the right table. "Maybe the hat made a mistake," Ron said. To Percy. To anyone. "The hat doesn't make mistakes," Percy said. "The prefect's authority, deployed with the prefect's certainty. The hat sorts based on the student's qualities." "Harry's he's not like them," Ron said. "He's wearing their tie," Percy said. "That's the definition." "That's not fair," Ron said. "Sorting rarely is," Percy said. Ron tried. In the first week, he approached Harry in the corridors, the neutral territory between the house tables, the spaces where a Gryffindor and a Slytherin could theoretically interact without the weight of their houses pressing on them. "Hey," Ron said. In the corridor outside Charms. "Hey?" Harry said. The silence between them was the silence of two people who had been friends for a train ride and who were now, by institutional assignment, on opposite sides of a divide neither of them had chosen. "How's Slytherin?" Ron said. "Cold," Harry said. "Underground, Gryffindor's in a tower," Ron said. Windows everywhere. That sounds nice, Harry said. It is nice, Ron said. And then, because Ron's emotional honesty was both his greatest quality and his greatest liability, I wish you were there. I know, Harry said. The hat could have put you in Gryffindor, Ron said. The hat put me where it put me, Harry said. But you could have, Ron, Harry said. I'm in Slytherin. That's what happened. It doesn't have to define you, Ron said. Everything defines you, Harry said. The cupboard defined me. The scar defined me. The house defines me. That's how it works. That's not how it should work, Ron said. Should and is are different, Harry said, and walked to potions. Ron stood in the corridor and watched Harry walk away, and the watching was the beginning of the distance. The gap between should and is that would, over the years, widen from a corridor into a chasm. Severus Snape's relationship with Slytherin Harry was the relationship that the other timeline had never allowed, the relationship between a head of house and his charge. In canon, Snape had hated Harry, had looked at Harry and seen James, the arrogance, the privilege, the face of the man who had tormented him. The hatred had defined the relationship for 6 years. In this timeline, Snape looked at Harry on the first day of potions class and saw Lily's eyes in Slytherin green. The seeing produced something that was not warmth. Snape did not do warmth. The seeing produced recognition. The recognition of a child wearing the wrong colours and the right ones simultaneously. The green of Slytherin. The green of Lily's eyes. The child of the woman he had loved, sorted into the house he had shaped. Potter, Snape said. First potions class. The word was delivered with the Snape precision, flat, evaluative, the vocal equivalent of a scalpel. Professor, Harry said. Snape looked at him. The looking lasted 3 seconds. In those 3 seconds, Snape processed. The scar, the eyes, the tie, the posture. You will sit at the front, Snape said. Slytherin students in my class receive the same treatment as everyone else. Do not expect favoritism. I don't expect anything, sir, Harry said. Good, Snape said. Low expectations prevent disappointment. The relationship was not affection. The relationship was guardianship. Snape was the head of Slytherin House, and Harry was in Slytherin House, and the responsibility that Snape carried for every Slytherin student now included the child of Lily Evans. The guardianship was cold, demanding, and occasionally harsh. Snape did not soften for Harry. Snape did not make allowances. What Snape did was protect. The silent, institutional, not advertised protection of a head of house who ensured that his students were not harassed, not bullied, not targeted by the other houses. The Gryffindors hexed crab in the corridor, Draco reported. October. Which Gryffindors? Snape said. The Weasley twins, Draco said. They said it was a joke. Hexing a student is not a joke, Snape said. It is assault. I will address it. Snape addressed it. The Weasley twins received detention. The detention was harsh, cleaning cauldrons without magic for a week. The harshness was deliberate, the message that Slytherin students were protected. He actually defended us, Harry said to Draco, after the detention was announced. Of course he defended us, Draco said. We're his house. Nobody's ever... Harry stopped. Nobody's ever defended you, Draco finished. The finishing was not kind. Draco did not do kind. The finishing was accurate. Draco saw what was underneath Harry's surface the way Slytherin saw underneath every surface, clearly, without sentiment. Nobody has ever defended me, Harry said. Slytherin defends its own, Draco said. That's the house, Harry repeated. And the repetition was the first brick in the wall that Harry was building between himself and the rest of the school, the wall that said, Slytherin defends me. Nobody else does. The Philosopher's Stone, A different approach. Harry discovered the three-headed dog and the trapdoor, and the Philosopher's Stone the same way. Hagrid's slip. Hermione's research. The accumulated evidence of something hidden on the third floor. But the discovery was processed differently because Harry processed it through Slytherin. Someone is trying to steal something from the school, Harry said. To Draco. In the common room. What something? Draco said. The Philosopher's Stone, Harry said. Nicholas Flamel's creation. It makes gold and produces the elixir of life. And someone is trying to steal it, Draco said. From a school full of children. Yes, Harry said, and Dumbledore knows this, Draco said. Dumbledore designed the protections, Harry said. Then why hasn't Dumbledore removed the stone from the school? Draco said. Harry paused. The pause was the processing, the Slytherin processing, the trained by Draco processing that asked the strategic question rather than the brave question. I don't know, Harry said. Think about it, Draco said. Dumbledore is the most powerful wizard alive. He knows someone is trying to steal the stone. He could move the stone to Gringotts, which is supposedly impenetrable, or to any of 100 secure locations. Instead, he keeps it in a school. Defended by obstacles that a group of first years could theoretically bypass. You think the obstacles are designed to be bypassed, Harry said. I think Dumbledore wants someone to attempt the theft, Draco said. I think the school is a trap. And I think the people inside the trap include us. Why would Dumbledore use students as bait? Harry said. Because Dumbledore uses everything as a tool, Draco said. People. Institutions, children. Dumbledore is a strategist. Strategists don't see people. They see pieces. You sound like you know him, Harry said. I know his type, Draco said. My father is the same. Different allegiance, same method. Harry thought about this. Thought about the obstacles, the chess set, the potions, the logic puzzle. Thought about how the obstacles were calibrated for a group of students. Thought about how Dumbledore, who could have solved the problem by removing the stone, had instead created a scenario where students might be drawn into confrontation. What would you do? Harry said. About the stone? Draco said. About Quirrell, Harry said. He's the one trying to steal it. I'm sure. Tell Snape, Draco said. Tell your head of house, Draco said. That is what a head of house is for. You are 11. You do not confront dark wizards. You report to the person responsible for your safety. In Gryffindor, I would have gone through the trapdoor myself, Harry said. In Gryffindor, you might have died, Draco said. In Slytherin, you survive. Harry told Snape. Snape handled it. The confrontation with Quirrell was a staff matter, handled by the staff without the involvement of 11-year-olds. Quirrell was subdued. Voldemort's parasitic presence was expelled. The stone was removed from the school. The crisis was resolved without Harry touching it. And the resolution taught Harry the first Slytherin lesson. The bravest response is not always the correct response. Sometimes the correct response is to let the adults handle it and survive. Year 2, the Chamber Harry's Parseltongue was discovered in second year during the dueling club incident with the snake. In canon, the discovery had been devastating. The school turning on Harry, the suspicion, the isolation. In this timeline, the discovery was devastating in a different way. The school turned on Harry. The same whispers, the same fear, the same institutional assumption that Parseltongue meant dark wizard. The Hufflepuffs avoided him. The Ravenclaws regarded him with suspicion. The Gryffindors, led by the conviction that Harry's Slytherin sorting had been a warning sign, pointed to the Parseltongue as confirmation. He's the heir of Slytherin, said a Gryffindor second year. In the corridor, loud enough for Harry to hear. He's a dark wizard, said another. He killed you-know-who and now he's speaking snake language, said a third. What does that tell you? It tells you that people who've never been hated before don't recognize it when they see it. said Draco Malfoy, who was walking beside Harry and who delivered the sentence with the precise carrying, designed to humiliate quality that was Draco's primary weapon. The Gryffindors went quiet. "Ignore them," Draco said, to Harry, after the Gryffindors had retreated. "Easy for you to say," Harry said. "They don't think you're opening the Chamber of Secrets." "They think every Slytherin is opening the Chamber of Secrets," Draco said. "You're just the most famous one." The chamber crisis played out the same way. The attacks, the petrification, the diary. But Harry's investigation was conducted through Slytherin networks rather than Gryffindor friendships. Draco provided the pure blood knowledge. Blaise provided the analytical framework. Theodore Nott provided the historical context about the chamber that the Nott family library contained. And Hermione Granger, who was not Harry's friend, who was a Gryffindor, who had no institutional reason to help a Slytherin, provided the Polyjuice Potion research because Hermione's commitment to truth was stronger than her commitment to Hal's loyalty. "Why are you helping me?" Harry said. "In the library. January of second year." "Because the attacks are wrong," Hermione said, "and because the heir of Slytherin is not you." "How do you know?" Harry said. "Because you're in the library asking for help," Hermione said. "Dark Lords don't ask for help." "That's not much to go on," Harry said. "It's enough," Hermione said. "For now." The chamber was resolved. The diary was destroyed. Ginny Weasley was rescued, not by Harry alone, but by Harry and Snape together, because Harry had learned in first year that the correct response was to tell the head of house. But the resolution came with a cost that the other timeline had not exacted. The school's prejudice against Harry was confirmed rather than corrected. In the other timeline, Harry's heroism in the chamber had earned him the school's respect. In this timeline, Harry's involvement was processed through the Slytherin filter. The Parseltongue boy who went into the Chamber of Secrets was the Parseltongue boy who probably opened it. "They think I did it," Harry said. To Snape. After the crisis. "They think what they want to think," Snape said. "The wizarding world is not interested in the truth about Slytherins. The wizarding world is interested in confirming what it already believes. That is the world you live in," Snape said. "The world where Slytherin is guilty until proven innocent, and the proof is never sufficient." Is that why I'm what, Potter?" "Angry," Harry said. "All the time." Snape looked at him, at Lily's eyes in a Slytherin child's face, asking him why he was angry. "I am angry because anger is the correct response to injustice," Snape said. "And this school, this world, is unjust to the children in my house." "Your house," Harry said. "Our house," Snape said. The correction was deliberate. The "our" was the closest Snape would come to inclusion, and the inclusion was the thing Harry heard. Our house. Not Harry's burden, not Harry's isolation, our house. Ours, the word settled into Harry's architecture, into the place where belonging lived, the place that the cupboard had emptied and that Slytherin, slowly, was filling. Year 3. Sirius and the Fracture Sirius Black escaped Azkaban in Harry's 3rd year, and the escape cracked Harry's relationship with the light in half. The crack happened because of information. The Slytherin information network, the connections, the family knowledge, the institutional awareness that pureblood families maintained, provided Harry with facts that the other timelines Harry hadn't received until much later. Sirius Black didn't receive a trial, Theodore Nott said. September, common room. Nott was reading his father's old legal correspondence, which Nott read the way other children read adventure novels. "Everyone gets a trial," Harry said. "Sirius Black didn't," Nott said. "He was sent to Azkaban by Bartemius Crouch Sr., without formal proceedings. There's no trial record, no testimony, no defense. That's illegal," Harry said. "That's politics," Nott said. Crouch was building a career on convictions. Black was convenient. Black betrayed my parents, Harry said. According to whom? Not said. According to everyone, Harry said. Everyone is not a source, not said. Everyone is a repetition of an institutional narrative that was never tested in court. Harry went to Snape. Is it true? Harry said. Sirius Black never had a trial? Snape was quiet for 4 seconds. 4 seconds of the Snape silence. The silence of a man deciding how much truth to deploy. It is true, Snape said. My parents' alleged betrayer never had a trial, Harry said. Correct, Snape said. And Dumbledore was on the Wizengamot, Harry said. Dumbledore could have demanded a trial. Dumbledore could have demanded many things, Snape said. But he didn't, Harry said. He did not, Snape said. Why? Harry said. Because Dumbledore accepted the narrative, Snape said. Because the narrative was convenient. Because a trial might have revealed complications. What complications? Harry said. Ask Dumbledore, Snape said, and observe what he doesn't tell you. Harry went to Dumbledore. The conversation was, educational professor, Harry said. Sirius Black never received a trial. Dumbledore's response was the blue-eyed assessment, the calculation that looked like twinkling, the management that looked like wisdom. That is correct, Dumbledore said. You were on the Wizengamot, Harry said. I was, Dumbledore said. You could have demanded a trial, Harry said. The situation was complex, Dumbledore said. Complex how? Harry said. There were factors. What factors? Harry said. My parents were murdered. Their alleged betrayer was imprisoned without trial. What factors make that acceptable? Harry, you tell everyone you care about justice, Harry said. You tell everyone you care about fairness. You're the headmaster. You sit on the Wizengamot, and you let a man rot in Azkaban for 12 years without checking whether he was guilty. The evidence at the time was never tested, Harry said. Because there was no trial. Because you didn't demand one. Dumbledore was quiet. The quiet of a man who was hearing a 13-year-old articulate the failure that Dumbledore had spent 12 years not examining. You are correct, Dumbledore said. I know I'm correct, Harry said. What I want to know is why. I believed Sirius was guilty, Dumbledore said. I may have been wrong. You may have been wrong, Harry said, about a man in Azkaban for 12 years. Harry, don't, Harry said. Don't manage me. Don't twinkle at me. Don't give me the wise headmaster voice that makes everything sound reasonable. A man was imprisoned without a trial, and you let it happen. Harry left the office. He walked through the corridor between Dumbledore's office and the Slytherin common room, and the walking was the fracture. The crack between Harry and the light side, the crack between trust and evidence, the crack between what Harry had been told and what Harry had discovered. Sirius was exonerated. Pettigrew was discovered. The truth came out, the same truth as the other timeline, but the truth arrived in a context where Harry had already seen the system's failure, and the seeing was the thing that the exoneration could not undo. He's innocent, Harry said. To Snape. After the exoneration, he is innocent, and the system that imprisoned him is still in place, Snape said. The exoneration corrects one injustice. It does not correct the system that produced it. The system is Dumbledore, Harry said. The system is larger than Dumbledore, Snape said. But Dumbledore is the system's most effective operator. You hate him, Harry said. I see him, Snape said. Hatred and seeing are different things. Are they? Harry said. In my case, Snape said, they are frequently concurrent. Year 4. The graveyard happened. The same mechanism. The cup, the portkey, the cemetery at Little Hangleton. Harry's training did not prevent the graveyard because the graveyard was a trap, and even the best strategic mind couldn't assess a trap it didn't know existed. Harry was bound to the tombstone. Pettigrew performed the ritual. Voldemort rose from the cauldron. The same sequence. The same horror. But Voldemort's response to Harry was different, because Voldemort knew something that the other timelines Voldemort had not considered relevant. Harry was in Slytherin. Harry Potter, Voldemort said, standing over Harry, the red eyes, the white face, the terrible, inhuman grandeur. The boy who lived. In Slytherin. Let me go, Harry said. The Sorting Hat saw something in you, Voldemort said. The hat saw ambition. Cunning, the survival instinct. The qualities of my house. I'm not yours, Harry said. You are wearing my colours, Voldemort said. Green and silver. The colours of Salazar Slytherin, who built this school and who understood what the other founders refused to understand. Understood what? Harry said. That the wizarding world is at war with itself, Voldemort said. That the institutions, the ministry, the school, the Wizengamot, are corrupt, broken, and designed to maintain the power of people who do not deserve it. You're a Dark Lord, Harry said. You murder people. I pursue change, Voldemort said. Through methods that the establishment calls dark because the establishment fears change. You murdered my parents, Harry said. I killed your parents because a prophecy said one of us had to die, Voldemort said. I was given information and I acted on it. The information was provided by... Do you know who gave me the prophecy, Potter? No, Harry said. A servant, Voldemort said, who overheard it being made. In a pub. To Albus Dumbledore. Who heard the prophecy and did not destroy it. Who heard the prophecy and used it, used your family, used your parents, as a strategic element in a war. That is the truth, Voldemort said. Dumbledore knew about the prophecy. Dumbledore knew that it made your family a target. Dumbledore could have hidden your parents more effectively. Dumbledore chose instead to use them as bait. You're lying, Harry said. I am many things, Voldemort said. Tonight, I am being honest. Because honesty, deployed correctly, is more devastating than any curse. Voldemort released Harry. The Priori Incantatem happened. The Golden Cage, the Echoes, the escape. Harry returned to Hogwarts with the cup. But he returned carrying something that the other timelines Harry had not carried. Voldemort's version of the truth. And the version was not entirely false. The version was partially true, partially manipulated, and entirely designed to crack the remaining trust between Harry and Dumbledore. The crack widened. Year 5. The system Umbridge arrived. The Ministry deployed its most effective weapon, not a Dark Lord, but a bureaucrat. A woman in pink who represented the system's response to truth, denial, punishment, and the systematic destruction of anyone who contradicted the official narrative. Harry did not fight Umbridge. This was the Slytherin response, the trained response, the 3 years of strategic thinking response that said direct confrontation with institutional power is suicide. You don't fight the system by yelling at it. You fight the system by surviving it. She wants you to fight, Draco said. October, common room. The blood quill, the detentions. She's provoking you. I know, Harry said. So don't be provoked, Draco said. The blood quill is pain, Draco said. I know pain. My father taught me about pain. Pain is a tool. The person using it wants a reaction. The reaction is the goal, not the pain. Your father used pain on you? Harry said. My father used everything on me, Draco said. The sentence was flat. Not self-pitying, statements of fact from Malfoys were never self-pitying. The point is, Umbridge wants you to explode. An exploding Harry Potter gives the Ministry justification for expulsion. Expulsion removes you from Hogwarts. Removal from Hogwarts removes your protection. What protection? Harry said. Dumbledore isn't protecting me. Dumbledore isn't protecting you from Umbridge, Draco said. Dumbledore is protecting you from the Ministry. The difference is important. The difference is that Dumbledore chooses what to protect me from, Harry said. Dumbledore chooses everything, Draco said. That's what makes him dangerous. Harry survived Umbridge. Not through the Dar. In this timeline, the Dar existed, but Harry was not its leader. Hermione led it, with Ron, with the Gryffindors, who would not accept a Slytherin's leadership regardless of his qualifications. Harry trained separately in the Slytherin common room with students who had learned defensive magic from families who knew what defensive magic was actually for. The Department of Mysteries happened. The false vision. The trap. But Harry's response was filtered through 5 years of Slytherin thinking. It's a trap, Harry told Draco. How do you know? Draco said. Because Voldemort wants me in the Department of Mysteries, Harry said, and the vision of Sirius is too convenient. Then don't go, Draco said. I have to verify, Harry said. Sirius might actually be in danger. Verify without going, Draco said. Use the network. The network, the Slytherin network, the connections that pureblood families maintained across the Ministry, verified that Sirius was safe. Harry did not go to the Department of Mysteries. The trap failed, but the trap's failure produced an unexpected consequence. Voldemort attacked the Ministry directly. The battle happened without Harry's presence. Order members fought Death Eaters. Sirius fought Bellatrix. Sirius died. Not at the Vale, in the atrium. A killing curse from behind. Bellatrix's curse, aimed at Sirius's back, while Sirius was dueling 2 other Death Eaters. The curse hit because Sirius was outnumbered, because the Order was overwhelmed, because Harry was not there to intervene. Harry was not there because Harry had made the strategic choice, the correct choice, the Slytherin choice, and the correct choice had produced the wrong outcome. If I'd gone, Harry said. You'd be dead, Draco said. It was a trap. If I'd gone, I might have saved him, Harry said. If you'd gone, you might have died alongside him, Draco said. At least I'd have been there, Harry said. Being there and being dead are not. I don't want to hear it, Harry said. I don't want the strategic assessment. I don't want the Slytherin analysis. My godfather is dead because I made the smart choice instead of the brave one. The smart choice kept you alive, Draco said. The brave choice might have kept him alive, Harry said. The argument was the argument that would define Harry's next 2 years. The argument between strategy and action, between the Slytherin training that said survive and the Gryffindor instinct that said fight for the people you love. The Gryffindor instinct said Harry should have been there. The Slytherin training said Harry was right to stay. Both were true. Both were unbearable. And in the unbearability, in the gap between the two truths, something grew. Something that Voldemort had planted in the graveyard and that Sirius's death fertilized. The conviction that the system, the Order, Dumbledore, the Ministry, the entire architecture of the light was broken, was insufficient, was failing the people it claimed to protect. The conviction was not dark. The conviction was accurate. The system was broken. The Ministry was corrupt. Dumbledore was manipulative. The Order had failed Sirius, had sent him to fight outnumbered in an atrium because the strategy was insufficient. But accurate convictions, planted in the right soil and watered with grief, could grow into terrible things. Year 6, the approach Voldemort did not recruit Harry directly. Voldemort was too smart for that, too aware that a direct approach would trigger Harry's defenses. Instead, Voldemort used the mechanism that every Dark Lord understood: intermediaries. The intermediary was not Draco. This was the thing. Draco was loyal to Harry, in the Slytherin way, which was the loyalty of shared experience rather than shared ideology. Draco did not push Harry toward Voldemort. Draco pushed Harry towards survival, and survival, in Draco's framework, was neutral. The intermediary was information. 6th year. Harry, grieving Sirius, angry at Dumbledore, isolated from the Gryffindor networks that the other timelines Harry had used as emotional support. Harry, in the Slytherin common room, processing grief through strategy because strategy was the only processing tool the house had given him. The information arrived through Theodore Nott. Nott's father was a Death Eater, a fact that Nott neither advertised nor denied. Nott's relationship with his father was the relationship of a son who understood his father's politics without sharing them, but who maintained the connection because family, in pureblood culture, was non-negotiable. "My father says the Dark Lord wants to talk to you," Nott said. January. Common room. The statement was delivered with the Nott flatness, the emotional register of someone who processed information without investing in it. "Talk?" Harry said. "Talk," Nott said. "Not recruit, not threaten. Talk, Voldemort doesn't talk," Harry said. "Voldemort commands." "My father says the Dark Lord has information," Nott said. "About you, about the prophecy, about Dumbledore. Information that Voldemort will give me freely," Harry said, out of the goodness of his non-existent heart. "Information that the Dark Lord believes will be more damaging than any curse," Nott said. Harry should have said no. Harry should have gone to Dumbledore, or to Snape, or to anyone who would have told him that meetings with Dark Lords were never informational exchanges, they were recruitment operations. Harry said yes. The meeting happened through intermediaries, not face-to-face. Voldemort was too strategic for that. Through a charmed journal, reminiscent of the diary but without the Horcrux component. A communication channel. Voldemort's words, appearing in ink on a page. Harry Potter. "Thank you for accepting my invitation." "This is not acceptance," Harry wrote. "This is listening." "Listening is the beginning of everything," Voldemort wrote. "Dumbledore taught you that, I suspect." "What do you want?" Harry wrote. "To tell you the truth," Voldemort wrote. "The truth that Dumbledore has withheld, about the prophecy, about what you are, about what he plans for you." "What am I?" Harry wrote. "You are the 7th Horcrux." The sentence sat on the page. Harry stared at it. The word, Horcrux, was not a word Harry knew. The word required research. Harry researched. Through the Slytherin library, through the restricted texts that pureblood families preserved, through the knowledge networks that had been his information source for 5 years. The research produced the definition. A Horcrux was a soul fragment, stored in an object, created through murder. Harry was a Horcrux. A piece of Voldemort's soul was in his scar. "Is this true?" Harry wrote. "Ask Dumbledore," Voldemort wrote. "Watch what he does not say." Harry asked Dumbledore. The conversation was the conversation that broke everything. "Am I a Horcrux?" Harry said. Dumbledore's face, the calculation, the management, the blue eyes doing the thing they always did, deciding how much truth to deploy. "Harry? Am I a Horcrux?" Harry repeated. "There is a fragment," Dumbledore said, "in your scar. A piece of Voldemort's soul attached to you when the killing curse failed." "You knew," Harry said. "I suspected," Dumbledore said. "Since when?" Harry said. "Since your first year," Dumbledore said. "Perhaps earlier." "Since my first year," Harry said. 6 years. "You've known for 6 years that a piece of Voldemort is inside my head." "I was waiting for the right moment," Harry said. "The right moment to tell me that I'm carrying a piece of the person who murdered my parents." "Harry, the situation is complex," Harry said. "It's always complex. The complexity is your justification for withholding everything that matters." "I was protecting you," Dumbledore said. "You were managing me," Harry said. "The way you've managed everything since I was 11. The way you managed the prophecy and the stone and the chamber and Sirius's trial. You manage. You control. You decide what I know and when I know it, and the deciding is not protection. The deciding is power. Harry, Voldemort told me, Harry said. Voldemort told me what I am. The Dark Lord, the person who murdered my parents, told me the truth about myself before you did. The sentence landed in the office. Dumbledore received it. That is a failure I cannot justify, Dumbledore said. No, Harry said. You can't. Harry left the office. For the last time. The last time he would sit in the chair across from Dumbledore's desk. The last time he would look at the blue eyes and see anything except the calculation. The fracture was complete. The crack that had started in third year and widened in fourth year and deepened in fifth year was now a chasm. The chasm between Harry and Dumbledore. The chasm between Harry and the light. And on the other side of the chasm, Voldemort was waiting, patient, strategic, offering the thing that Dumbledore had never offered, the unedited truth. The truth was a weapon. Voldemort knew this. Voldemort had always known this. The truth, deployed correctly, was more devastating than any curse. Harry didn't take the dark mark in sixth year. Harry was too smart for that, too aware that the mark was servitude, not alliance. But Harry's position shifted. From inside the system to outside the system. From the boy who lived to the boy who doubted. From Dumbledore's to nobody's. The nobody's was the dangerous place. The place where Voldemort's recruiters did their best work. Year 7. The mark Harry took the dark mark in October of his 7th year. The taking was not dramatic. The taking was the end of a process. The incremental, step-by-step, each decision makes sense in the moment process of a person moving from one side to the other. The process had steps. Step 1, the system is broken. Step 2, the people who run the system cannot be trusted. Step 3, the alternative to the system is Voldemort. Step 4, Voldemort offers what the system doesn't. Step 5, taking the mark is the logical conclusion of steps 1 through 4. Harry took the mark in the Forbidden Forest. The ceremony was private. Voldemort, Pettigrew, Harry. The mark burned into Harry's forearm with the pain of a brand, the magic of a binding, the permanence of a decision that could not be reversed. Welcome, Voldemort said. Don't, Harry said. Don't welcome me. This is not a homecoming. This is the only option you left. I left many options, Voldemort said. You chose this one. I chose the one where I stopped being a piece on Dumbledore's board, Harry said. You are now a piece on mine, Voldemort said. I know, Harry said. The difference is that you admit it. The war. Harry's side, Harry, fought for Voldemort. This was the fact. The terrible, unambiguous, history-recorded fact. Harry Potter, the boy who lived, fought on the side of the person who had murdered his parents. The fighting was strategic. Harry was not a torturer. Harry was not a murderer. Harry's contribution to Voldemort's campaign was the contribution of a strategist. The knowledge of Hogwarts defences, the understanding of Dumbledore's methods, the tactical intelligence that only an insider could provide. You will not be asked to kill, Voldemort said. Your value is not as a weapon. Your value is as a symbol. A symbol, Harry said. The boy who lived, fighting for the new order, Voldemort said. The symbol's propaganda value exceeds any combat contribution. You want me for marketing, Harry said. I want you for everything the symbol represents, Voldemort said. The proof that the old order has failed so completely that even its greatest hero has abandoned it. Harry was the symbol. The face of Voldemort's recruitment campaign, the evidence that the light had lost its brightest, or at least its most famous, to the other side. The symbol's effect was devastating. Order recruitment slowed. Ministry morale collapsed. The people who had believed in Harry Potter, the people who had told their children about the boy who lived, who had named their pets and their pub drinks after him. Those people saw Harry wearing the Death Eater's mask, and the seeing broke something in the collective psyche that no amount of resistance could repair. He was supposed to save us, people said. He was supposed to be the one, people said. If Harry Potter is fighting for you-know-who, people said, then maybe you-know-who is right. He wasn't right. Voldemort was a supremacist, a murderer, a monster. But the symbol of Harry Potter wearing the dark mark made the rightness less clear, and the less clearness was Voldemort's greatest victory. What Harry saw Harry spent 6 months as a Death Eater. 6 months of seeing the inside, the actual, unedited, no propaganda filter inside of Voldemort's organisation. The inside was worse than the outside. The outside was ideology, pure-blood supremacy, wizarding independence, the reformation of corrupt institutions. The ideology was, in parts, defensible. The ministry was corrupt. The institutions were broken. The Muggle-born registration system was discriminatory. The inside was cruelty, the torture of prisoners, the murder of Muggle families, the systematic, organised, industrialised violence against people who had committed no offence except existing. Harry saw it, month by month. The accumulation of evidence that the alternative to Dumbledore's broken system was not a better system. It was a worse one. They're killing Muggles, Harry told Draco. Draco, who had not taken the mark, who had stayed in Slytherin's neutral territory, who was watching his father serve Voldemort and watching his friend serve Voldemort, and who was, in the privacy of the Malfoy heir's analytical mind, terrified, I know, Draco said. Families, Harry said. Children. People who can't fight back. That is what the Dark Lord does, Draco said. That has always been what the Dark Lord does. You thought the ideology was the point, Draco said. The ideology is the recruitment tool. The cruelty is the point. I made a mistake, Harry said. You made a catastrophic mistake, Draco said, and the mistake is branded on your arm. I need to undo it, Harry said. You can't undo a dark mark, Draco said. You can, however, betray the person who gave it to you. Betray Voldemort, Harry said. Betray the Dark Lord, Draco said, the same way you betrayed Dumbledore. Except this time, the betrayal is justified. The betrayal of Dumbledore was based on legitimate grievances, Draco said. The betrayal of the Dark Lord is based on legitimate horror. The grievances were political. The horror is moral. The moral outranks the political. Since when are you a moral philosopher? Harry said. Since my friend joined a murder organisation and I had to develop a moral framework to convince him to leave, Draco said. The turn Harry went to Snape. This was the decision that every path had been leading to, the decision that was, in its own way, the most Slytherin decision Harry had ever made, going to Snape, not to Dumbledore, not to the Order, to Snape. I made a mistake, Harry said. In Snape's office, February of Harry's 7th year. Snape looked at him, at the mark on Harry's arm visible when Harry rolled up his sleeve, at the evidence of the thing Snape had spent 6 years trying to prevent. Show me, Snape said. Harry showed him. The mark, the brand, the permanent evidence of the worst decision of his life. Snape's expression was nothing. The blankness of a man who was processing information that was simultaneously the worst thing he'd seen and the thing he'd spent 6 years expecting. You came to me, Snape said. You're the only person who will understand, Harry said. Because I have one too, Snape said. He rolled up his own sleeve. The dark mark. Faded, but present. The permanent evidence of Snape's own worst decision. You made the same mistake, Harry said. I made the same mistake for the same reasons, Snape said. The system was broken. The alternative seemed better. The alternative was worse. How do I fix it? Harry said. You don't fix it, Snape said. You work against it from the inside, the way I have been working against it for 16 years. You're a spy, Harry said. I am a person who made a catastrophic mistake at 17 and who has spent his entire adult life trying to compensate, Snape said. The compensation is not redemption. The compensation is the minimum. The minimum, Harry said. The minimum required to look at Lily's eyes and not be destroyed by what I see, Snape said. Looking at Harry, at Lily's eyes. You loved my mother, Harry said. I love your mother, Snape said. Present tense. Love does not stop because the person dies. Then, help me, Harry said. I am helping you, Snape said. The help began 6 years ago, when I became your head of house. The help continued every day that I stood between you and the consequences of being a Slytherin in a world that despises Slytherins. I didn't see it, Harry said. You weren't supposed to see it, Snape said. Protection that is visible is protection that can be targeted. That's very Slytherin, Harry said. I am very Slytherin, Snape said. And so are you. And the Slytherin response to a mistake is not guilt. It is correction. Correction, Harry said. You will return to the Dark Lord, Snape said. You will continue to serve. And you will feed information to the Order through me. I'll be a spy, Harry said. You'll be a traitor, Snape said. On both sides. Simultaneously, the Dark Lord will trust you because the mark compels a degree of trust. The Order will use you because the information you provide is invaluable. And I'll be in the middle, Harry said. You'll be in the middle, Snape confirmed. Where every spy lives. In the space between the two sides, where neither side fully trusts you and both sides need you. Is it survivable? Harry said. Ask me when it's over, Snape said. The battle and the choice, the Battle of Hogwarts arrived, and Harry was wearing the wrong mask. The Death Eater mask. The face of the enemy. The disguise that had become the identity that had become the disguise again. The layered, recursive. Who am I actually? Deception of a person who had been playing both sides for 4 months, and who was, at the moment the battle began, unsure which side he was on. He was on the Order's side. He had been feeding Snape information for months. He had compromised Voldemort's battle plan. He had ensured that the defenders knew the timing, the direction, the deployment of the Death Eater forces, but he was wearing the mask, standing among the Death Eaters, looking at Hogwarts, the school that had sorted him into Slytherin, the school that had judged him for the sorting, the school that was the closest thing to home he had ever known. Advance, Voldemort said. The Death Eaters advanced. Harry advanced with them. Through the gates, across the grounds, toward the castle. The battle began. Harry fought, not for Voldemort, for the people inside the castle. The fighting was the silent, strategic, from the inside fighting of a spy, misdirected curses, delayed attacks, the subtle sabotage that looked like incompetence and that saved lives. Every curse Harry misdirected was a student who didn't die. Every attack Harry delayed was a defender who had time to raise a shield. Every piece of sabotage was a small, invisible, nobody will ever know act of resistance from inside the enemy's lines. Potter isn't performing, Bellatrix said to Voldemort. During the battle, his curses are missing. His curses are precise, Voldemort said. Potter does not miss. Then he's missing deliberately, Bellatrix said. Voldemort looked at Harry. Across the battlefield, the red eyes, the white face, The assessment of a Dark Lord who was, for the first time, considering the possibility that his greatest propaganda victory was also his greatest intelligence failure. "Potter," Voldemort said. "Come to me." Harry went. Through the battle, past the fighting, to the place where Voldemort stood, behind the lines, watching, the king on the chessboard, the piece that never moved until there was no alternative. "You are betraying me," Voldemort said. "I am correcting a mistake," Harry said. "The mistake being?" Voldemort said. "Believing you," Harry said. "Believing that the alternative to a broken system was you. Believing that the truth you told me made you trustworthy." "I told you the truth," Voldemort said. "You told me true things for false reasons," Harry said. "The truth was a weapon. You used it to recruit me." "And now?" Voldemort said. "Now I'm using what I learned from you," Harry said. "Which is, the truth, deployed correctly, is more devastating than any curse." Harry drew his wand. On Voldemort. In front of the Death Eaters, the boy who lived, wearing the dark mark, pointing his wand at the person who had given it to him. "You don't have the power to defeat me," Voldemort said. "I don't need to defeat you," Harry said. "I need to survive long enough for the people inside the castle to win." "That is not the prophecy," Voldemort said. "The prophecy says neither can live while the other survives," Harry said. "It doesn't say I have to be the one who kills you. It says the connection between us has to end." "And how does the connection end?" Voldemort said. "By me choosing to end it," Harry said. "By me choosing to reject the mark, the ideology, the side. By me standing here and saying, I was wrong. I chose wrong. And I am choosing again." The duel happened, not the clean mythological hero versus villain duel of the other timeline. A messy, ugly, blood and fury fight between a Dark Lord and a 17-year-old who had spent a year on the wrong side and who was fighting with the desperate, unstrategic, fully committed energy of someone who had nothing left to calculate. Harry didn't win through strategy. Harry won through the thing that Slytherin had never taught him and that Gryffindor had never had the chance to, the willingness to lose everything in order to do the right thing. The Expelliarmus. The rebounding curse. The Elder One's allegiance. The same mechanism, different context. Not a hero defeating a villain. A traitor defeating the person he'd betrayed, using the weapons the betrayal had provided. Voldemort fell. Harry stood in the ruins of the battlefield, wearing a Death Eater's robes, with the dark mark on his arm and Voldemort dead at his feet. The mark burned. The burning of a brand whose owner was dead. The burning was agony, and the agony was earned. Harry Potter after the war was the most complicated figure in wizarding history. Not a hero. The hero narrative was destroyed. The boy who lived had taken the dark mark, had fought for Voldemort, had been a Death Eater for 6 months. The fact that the 6 months included 4 months of spying for the Order did not eliminate the 2 months when the service had been genuine. The 2 months were real. The dark mark was real. Not a villain. The spy work had saved lives. The intelligence Harry had provided had been essential to the Battle of Hogwarts. The sabotage from inside Voldemort's lines had preserved defenders who would otherwise have died. The final duel had ended the war. Something in between. Something that the wizarding world didn't have a word for, because the word hadn't been invented for the specific condition of being both the hero and the traitor, both the saviour and the Death Eater, both the person who killed Voldemort and the person who had served him. "What happens to me?" Harry said. Kingsley Shacklebolt, the new Minister of Magic, in the Minister's office, a week after the battle. "There will be a hearing," Kingsley said. "The Wizengamot." "A trial," Harry said. "A hearing," Kingsley said. "The distinction is, we're calling it a hearing." Because a trial implies a crime, Harry said, and the Wizengamot doesn't know what to do with a crime that is also an act of heroism. The Wizengamot doesn't know what to do with you, Kingsley said. You are the most inconvenient person in the wizarding world. I've always been inconvenient, Harry said. You've always been complicated, Kingsley said. The dark mark is Harry. The mark changes everything. I know, Harry said. The public sees the mark, Kingsley said. The public doesn't see the spying, the sabotage, the 4 months of intelligence work. The public sees the mark. Then show them the intelligence, Harry said. The intelligence is classified, Kingsley said. Revealing it would compromise methods that we need for the post-war Death Eater prosecutions. So the thing that proves I was working for the Order is the thing that can't be made public, Harry said. Correct, Kingsley said. That's very familiar, Harry said. The system protecting itself at the expense of the person. Harry, I've been here before, Harry said. The system and the person. The system always wins. The hearing happened. Harry testified. Snape testified. The dead Snape, through memories stored in Dumbledore's pensieve. Because Snape had died in the battle the way Snape had always expected to die, between the two sides, trusted by neither. Essential to both. The Wizengamot cleared Harry. Not exonerated, cleared. The distinction mattered. Exoneration implied that no wrong had been done. Clearing implied that the wrong had been offset by the subsequent right. The offset was accepted. The wrong remained on record. Harry left the Wizengamot with a cleared name and a dark mark on his arm that would never fade. The mark was the permanent record. The permanent evidence that Harry Potter, brave, stubborn, compassionate, impulsive Harry Potter, had made the worst decision a person could make, for reasons that were understandable, and had spent the rest of the war trying to undo it. The undoing was the story, not the mark. The undoing. What Harry carried the mark for the rest of his life. The mark faded when Voldemort died, the same fading that all Death Eater marks experienced. But the mark did not disappear. The outline remained, a scar like the lightning bolt on his forehead, permanent, visible, the evidence of a choice. He wore long sleeves, always, in public, in private, in every photograph and every interaction and every moment of his post-war life. The sleeves covered the mark the way the fringe covered the scar, imperfectly, incompletely, with the awareness that the covering was a performance, and that the performance was necessary, because the thing being covered was too complicated to explain. You don't have to hide it, Ginny said, years later. In the kitchen. In the house they'd built together, the house that was the farthest possible thing from a cupboard and a dungeon and a battlefield. I do, Harry said. The war is over, Ginny said. The mark isn't, Harry said. The mark is permanent. The war ended. The evidence doesn't. People know you were a spy, Ginny said. People know the Wizengamot cleared me, Harry said. People don't know the details. People see the sleeves and they wonder what's underneath, and the wondering is the punishment. The punishment for what? Ginny said. For being right about Dumbledore and wrong about Voldemort, Harry said. For seeing the system's corruption and choosing the wrong alternative. For taking a legitimate grievance and turning it into a catastrophic error. The error was mine, Harry said. Every step, every decision. The sorting didn't make me a Death Eater. Dumbledore's manipulation didn't make me a Death Eater. The system's failures didn't make me a Death Eater. I made me a Death Eater. The circumstances explained the decision. The decision was still mine. Harry, that's harsh on yourself, Ginny said. That's honest, Harry said. And honesty is the thing I owe. To myself. To the people who died while I was wearing the mask. You saved people while wearing the mask, Ginny said. I saved people after I decided to stop serving the person who gave me the mask, Harry said. The 4 months of spying don't erase the 2 months of genuine service. The 2 months are real. They're real and they're past, Ginny said. They're real and they're on my arm, Harry said. Forever, Ginny looked at him, at the man she'd married, the man who carried a scar on his forehead and a mark on his arm and the weight of every decision between them. Show me, Ginny said. You've seen it, Harry said. Show me, Ginny said. Not because I haven't seen it, because you need to show someone. Harry rolled up his sleeve. The mark, faded, scarred, the outline of the skull and the serpent, the evidence. Ginny looked at it, touched it. The touch was not flinching, not revolted, not the touch of someone who was tolerating a monster's brand on the arm of the person they loved. The touch was present. The touch of someone who was seeing the thing and choosing not to look away. It's part of you, Ginny said. It's the worst part of me, Harry said. It's a part of you, Ginny said. The same way the scar is a part of you. Something that happened. Something that you carry. Something that doesn't define you unless you let it. Sometimes I let it, Harry said. Then stop, Ginny said. Not because the mark doesn't matter. Because you are more than the mark. More than the mark, Harry said. More than the mark, Ginny said. More than the scar. More than the cupboard. More than any single thing that was done to you or that you did. That's the truth, Ginny said. The actual truth. Not Voldemort's version. Not Dumbledore's version. The truth. Harry looked at the mark, at the faded evidence of the worst decision of his life. At the thing that would be on his arm until he died, that would be visible to anyone who saw him without the sleeves. That would be the first thing the history books mentioned, and the last thing Harry thought about every night. He pulled the sleeve down. Not because Ginny had told him to, because the pulling down was the habit, and the habit was the practice, and the practice was the daily, ongoing, never-finished work of being a person who had made a catastrophic mistake and who was every day choosing to be more than the mistake. The choosing was not redemption. The choosing was management. The daily management of a person who carried a dark mark and a lightning bolt and who knew, with the accuracy of someone who had been on both sides, that neither side was sufficient and that the space between them was where the actual living happened. He was the boy who lived. He was the boy who chose wrong. Both of those things, all the time, the scar and the mark, the hero and the Death Eater, the person who killed Voldemort and the person who served him. The choosing was the story. Every step, the sorting, the system's failures, the graveyard truth, the Godfather's death, the Horcrux revelation, the mark, every step was a choice. The choices were understandable. The choices were also wrong. Understanding does not excuse. Understanding explains. The explanation is not a defense. The explanation is a map. The map of how a person goes from a cupboard to a dark mark, from a boy to a traitor, from the right side to the wrong one. The map is useful. The map says the road from good to terrible is paved with legitimate grievances. The road from hero to Death Eater is paved with accurate observations about broken systems. The road is real. The paving is true. The destination is still terrible. Harry Potter made the journey. Harry Potter chose the wrong side. Harry Potter spent 4 months undoing the choice and the rest of his life carrying its evidence. The carrying was not enough. The carrying was the minimum. The minimum required to look at the mark every morning and say, I did this. I chose this. I will carry this. And I will be more than this. More than the mark. More than the mistake. More than any single choice in a life full of choices. That was not redemption. That was management. That was enough. Barely, most days. Enough? Let us know what you'd like to see next. Expanded Threads Draco and Harry, The real friendship, the friendship between Harry and Draco, was the thing that neither of them called friendship, because the word implied an emotional openness that Slytherin did not cultivate. What they had was alliance, the Slytherin word. The word that covered the ground between strangers and friends without the vulnerability that friendship demanded. The alliance started on the first night and deepened through proximity, shared experience, and the Slytherin grade understanding that two people with power were stronger than one person with power. "You need me," Draco said. First week. Blunt. The Malfoy directness that looked like arrogance, but was actually efficiency. "Why do I need you?" Harry said. "Because you're famous and clueless," Draco said. "You're Harry Potter. Everyone wants something from you. You don't know what they want because you grew up in a cupboard and the cupboard didn't teach you politics. It taught me survival," Harry said. "Survival is step 1, Draco said. Politics is step 2. I can teach you step 2. And what do you get?" Harry said. "The most famous person in the wizarding world as my ally," Draco said, "which makes me, by association, the second most famous person in the wizarding world." "That's very honest," Draco said. "I'm being honest about my motives, which is more than most people will be." "That's true," Harry said. "Slytherins are honest about self-interest," Draco said. "We lie about everything else." The alliance evolved through the years, through the crises, through the accumulation of shared experiences that produced the thing that neither of them named. By third year, the alliance was more than strategic. By fourth year, the alliance was the closest thing either of them had to a real relationship. By fifth year, the alliance was the foundation of Harry's emotional architecture, the one connection he trusted, because the connection was built on honesty about motives rather than pretense about feelings. "I trust you," Harry said. Fifth year, after Sirius's death. In the common room, late at night when the common room was empty, and the conversation was the kind that only happened in empty rooms. "You shouldn't trust anyone," Draco said. "I trust you because you told me not to," Harry said. That's sound logic," Draco said. "It's Slytherin logic," Harry said. "Which is the best kind," Draco said. When Harry took the mark, Draco's response was the response that nobody outside Slytherin would have understood. Draco didn't try to stop him. Draco didn't argue. Draco didn't deliver the impassioned speech about right and wrong that a Gryffindor friend would have delivered. Draco said, "When you realize this is a mistake, and you will realize it, because you're not stupid, come to me." "Not Dumbledore?" Harry said. "Dumbledore is the reason you're making this mistake," Draco said. "Coming to Dumbledore would confirm every grievance that led you here." "Then who?" Harry said. "Me," Draco said. "Come to me. I will not judge you. I will not lecture you. I will help you find the way back." "Why?" Harry said. "Because you're my friend," Draco said. The word neither of them used, deployed for the first time, in the context of the worst decision of Harry's life. "I thought Slytherins didn't have friends," Harry said. "Slytherins don't advertise friends," Draco said. "The having is separate from the advertising." "You're my friend too," Harry said. "I know," Draco said. "That's why this is going to be very difficult." Hermione from the outside, Hermione Granger, watched Harry Potter's journey from the outside, from the Gryffindor Tower, from the opposite side of the Great Hall, from the other side of the institutional divide that the Sorting Hat had created on September 1st, 1991. The watching was agonizing because Hermione understood what was happening and couldn't prevent it. "He's pulling away," Hermione said. To Ron. Third year, in the Gryffindor common room. "He's in Slytherin," Ron said. "He's been pulled away since first year." "He's pulling away from everyone," Hermione said. "Not just us. From Dumbledore. From the school. He's building walls." "Slytherins build walls," Ron said. Harry isn't a Slytherin by nature, Hermione said. Harry is brave and impulsive and emotional. Those are Gryffindor qualities. The Slytherin qualities, the strategy, the calculation, the wall building, those are learned. Those are responses to the environment. The environment being Slytherin, Ron said. The environment being a school that told an 11-year-old that his house made him suspect, Hermione said. The environment that validated every fear Harry brought from the Dursleys, that he was wrong, that he didn't belong, that the people in charge couldn't be trusted. You're saying the school made him into. I'm saying the school created the conditions, Hermione said. The prejudice against Slytherin. The assumption that Slytherin equals dark. The way the teachers, even the good teachers, treat Slytherin students differently. They don't. They do, Hermione said. McGonagall is fair. But McGonagall is fair in a way that advantages Gryffindor. The point deductions are harsher for Slytherin. The benefit of the doubt goes to Gryffindor. The system is biased, Ron, and the bias is invisible to the people inside it, because the people inside it are benefiting from it. You're defending Slytherin, Ron said. I'm describing reality, Hermione said. The description is not a defense. The description is the thing that Harry sees every day and that we don't see because we're on the other side. Hermione tried. Through the years she tried, the library conversations in second year, the research partnerships in third, the incremental, persistent Hermione quality effort to maintain a connection across the house divide. The connection frayed, not because Harry rejected Hermione. Harry respected Hermione's intelligence and valued her honesty. Because the fraying was structural. The houses separated them. The schedules separated them. The social pressures, the Gryffindor suspicion of anyone who associated with Slytherins, the Slytherin suspicion of anyone who associated with Gryffindors, separated them. By fifth year, the connection was a thread. By sixth year, when Harry took the mark, the thread was cut. I failed him, Hermione said. To Ron. After the news broke. After the wizarding world learned that Harry Potter was a Death Eater. You didn't fail him, Ron said. He made a choice. He made a choice in conditions that we helped create, Hermione said. We, the school, the houses, the system, we created the conditions where a boy who should have been in Gryffindor, who should have been surrounded by people who loved him, was instead surrounded by people who taught him that the world was a chess game and that the only winning move was self-preservation. That's not our fault, Ron said. It's everyone's fault, Hermione said. It's the fault of a system that sorts children at 11 and treats the sorting as a moral judgment. It's the fault of a school that teaches subjects but not empathy. It's the fault of Ron, it's the fault of every person who looked at Harry's green tie and decided that the tie made him less trustworthy. Including me, Ron said. Including both of us, Hermione said. On the first day, when we saw the sorting and we pulled back. We were 11, Ron said. We were 11 and we had already absorbed the prejudice, Hermione said. That's how deep it goes. Ron's regret Ron Weasley's relationship with Harry Potter was the friendship that never happened, the friendship that a train ride had promised and that a sorting hat had prevented. The regret was not immediate. The regret was gradual. The slow, accumulating awareness that the boy Ron had shared sandwiches with was, year by year, becoming someone Ron didn't recognize. I should have tried harder, Ron said. To Hermione. After the battle, after Harry's hearing, after everything. We both should have, Hermione said. I should have, in first year, when he was sorted. I should have said, I don't care what house you're in. I should have sat with him at the Slytherin table. The Slytherin table wouldn't have let you, Hermione said. I should have tried, Ron said. I should have, Hermione. I let the sorting decide for me. I let the tie tell me who he was. You were 11, Hermione said. I was 11, and my best friend needed me, and I let a piece of cloth stop me from being there, Ron said. The piece of cloth was institutional, Hermione said. The institution created the barrier, not you. The institution didn't feel betrayed when Harry was sorted, Ron said. I did. The institution didn't look at Harry across the Great Hall and think he was on the wrong side. I did. Ron? I thought he was on the wrong side because he was wearing the wrong colours, Ron said. And then, 6 years later, he actually went to the wrong side. And I have to live with the question, would he have gone if I'd been there? You can't know that, Hermione said. I can know that I wasn't there, Ron said. And the not being there is the thing I carry. You couldn't have prevented, maybe not, Ron said. But I could have been present. I could have been the friend who said, I don't care about the tie. I care about you. And maybe that would have been enough. Maybe one person on the other side of the hall saying, I see you, would have been enough to prevent 6 years of walls. Or maybe it wouldn't have been enough, Hermione said. Maybe the system was too strong. Maybe, Ron said. But I'll never know. Because I didn't try. Ron carried the not trying for the rest of his life. The way Harry carried the mark, permanently, visibly to himself if not to others, the evidence of a failure that was not dramatic but was fundamental. The moment Harry almost didn't take the mark there was a moment. A moment between the decision and the act. A moment in the Forbidden Forest in October of 7th year when Harry stood in front of Voldemort and the decision was not yet permanent and the air still held the possibility of a different choice. The moment lasted approximately 4 seconds. 4 seconds where Harry's hand was extended but the mark had not been applied. 4 seconds where Harry could have pulled back, could have said no, could have run, could have gone to Dumbledore or Snape or anyone and said, I'm about to make the worst decision of my life. Help me. In those 4 seconds, Harry thought about the cupboard. 10 years of darkness. The first lesson, nobody is coming. The sorting. The hat's decision. The green table. The silence that said, you are not what we expected. Ron's face. Across the Great Hall, the distance that grew from confusion to conviction to the settled certainty that Harry was on the wrong side. Dumbledore's eyes. The calculation. The management. The 6 years of withheld information and strategic truth. Sirius. Dead in the atrium. Dead because Harry made the smart choice instead of the brave one. Dead because the system that was supposed to protect him had sent him into a fight he couldn't win. The mark on Snape's arm. The evidence that the mistake had been made before by someone who understood Harry's reasons because they were the same reasons. 4 seconds. The lifetime of a decision. Harry could have pulled back. Harry could have chosen differently. The choice was available. The pulling back was possible. Nothing external prevented it. No spell, no compulsion, no magical coercion. The decision was Harry's. Completely, entirely, without mitigation. Harry did not pull back. Harry extended his arm and Voldemort's wand touched his skin and the mark burned into his flesh with the permanence of a choice that could not be unmade. In 4 seconds, Harry Potter became a Death Eater. The 4 seconds were the most important 4 seconds of his life, more important than the sorting, more important than the graveyard, more important than the final duel. Because the 4 seconds were the seconds where the choice existed and where Harry chose. The choosing was the thing. Not the circumstances, not the system, not the manipulation. The choosing. Harry's choosing. The moment where all of the reasons and all of the grievances and all of the justified anger converged into a decision that was understandable and wrong. understandable and wrong. Both. Snape's death Snape died in the Battle of Hogwarts. This was the same ending, Nagini, the shrieking shack, the blood on the floor. But the dying was different because the person at Snape's side was different. In the other timeline, Harry had been at the shrieking shack by chance, following the memories, piecing together the truth about Snape's loyalties. In this timeline, Harry was at the shrieking shack by design, because Snape had told Harry where to find him, because Snape had known that Voldemort would eventually discover the deception, because Snape had planned the ending the way Snape planned everything, meticulously, bitterly, and with the absolute certainty that the planning would not save him. Potter, Snape said. On the floor, bleeding, the Snape voice, fading, but still the scalpel. Professor, Harry said. The memories, Snape said. Take them. The memories flowed, the silver-white evidence of Snape's life. Lily, the friendship, the loss, the promise, the 16 years of spying, the raising of Harry in Slytherin, the adjusted occlumency, the protection that was invisible because visible protection could be targeted. You protected me, Harry said, for 7 years. I protected Lily's son, Snape said. The distinction was important. Once and now, Harry said. Now I am dying, Snape said. And the distinction matters less. Severus, Harry said. The first name. The only time Harry would use it. Don't, Snape said. Don't make this sentimental. You're dying, Harry said. That is not permission for sentimentality, Snape said. I have spent my entire life avoiding sentimentality. You spent your entire life being the bravest person I've ever known, Harry said. I spent my entire life compensating for a mistake, Snape said. The bravery is incidental. Incidental bravery is still bravery, Harry said. You sound like Dumbledore, Snape said. That's, given everything, that's not the compliment you think it is, Harry said. It is, Snape said. Dumbledore was wrong about many things. But he was right about what matters. What matters, Harry said. Snape looked at Harry, at Lily's eyes, for the last time. Choice, Snape said. What we choose, you chose to protect me, Harry said. I chose to correct a mistake, Snape said. The same mistake you are correcting. The same choice, Harry said. Tell me something, Snape said. The voice was fading. The scalpel was dulling. Anything, Harry said. Was I adequate? Snape said, as a head of house. You were, Harry stopped. The stopping was the emotion, the thing Snape had forbidden, arriving anyway. You were the best thing about Slytherin. That is, a low bar, Snape said. It's not, Harry said. It's the highest bar. You were the person who made the house bearable, who defended us, who taught us that the world's judgment was not our sentence. The world's judgment was not your sentence, Snape repeated. Remember that, when they judge you. For the mark. I will, Harry said. Good, Snape said. Now let me die without further emotional disruption. Severus. Go, Snape said. Kill the Dark Lord. Correct the mistake. And, for Lily's sake, take off that mask. Harry took off the Death Eater's mask. In the shrieking shack. Beside Snape's body. The mask, the literal mask, the Death Eater's skull face removed and placed on the floor. The face underneath was Harry's. 17, scarred on the forehead and branded on the arm and crying. Because Snape had told him not to be sentimental, and Harry was choosing to be sentimental anyway. Harry and Dumbledore, the last conversation after the battle. After the hearing. After the world had processed the impossible reality of Harry Potter, Death Eater and war hero. Harry went to Hogwarts. To the headmaster's office. To the portrait. Harry, Dumbledore's portrait said. The blue eyes, painted, not real, but the painter had captured the quality of Dumbledore's looking. Professor, Harry said. You came, Dumbledore said. I came to ask you something, Harry said. Ask, Dumbledore said. If you'd told me, Harry said, first year, about the Horcrux in my head, about the prophecy, about everything. If you'd told me the truth, all of it, not the managed version, would I have still ended up here? You're asking whether my secrets caused your defection, Dumbledore said. I'm asking whether the truth would have prevented it, Harry said. I don't know, Dumbledore said. That's honest, Harry said. I have learnt through your example that honesty is occasionally preferable to management, Dumbledore said. Through my example, Harry said. The Death Eater's example. The person's example, Dumbledore said. The person who saw the system's corruption and who responded, incorrectly, disastrously, with consequences that will follow him for the rest of his life, but who responded. The responding was, it was courage. Misapplied courage. But courage. Misapplied courage, Harry said. Is that what we're calling joining Voldemort? I'm calling it the action of a person who saw injustice and who chose the wrong method to address it, Dumbledore said. The wrong method, Harry said. The wrong method, Dumbledore confirmed. But the seeing was correct. The system was broken. My management was manipulation. The Wizengamot imprisoned your godfather without a trial. The ministry sent a torturer to run a school. These things were real. Your perception of them was accurate, and my response was... Your response was the response of a Slytherin who had been taught that the system was the enemy, and who, when offered an alternative to the system, accepted the alternative without sufficient evaluation. Insufficient evaluation, Harry said. Is that what we're calling 6 months as a Death Eater? I'm calling it a mistake, Dumbledore said. A mistake made by a person who was right about the problem and wrong about the solution. Right about the problem, Harry said. Wrong about the solution. That is, I believe, the most human of errors, Dumbledore said. And the most common. And the most dangerous. Because right about the problem makes the wrong about the solution feel justified, Harry said. Precisely, Dumbledore said. The accuracy of the diagnosis makes the incorrectness of the treatment feel rational, and the rationality of the feeling is the trap. Harry sat in the office, in the chair that was no longer too large, that fit him the way the mark fit his arm, permanently, with the awareness that the fitting was earned and the earning was complicated. I'm going to live with this, Harry said, for the rest of my life. You are going to live, Dumbledore said, which is, given everything, a better outcome than either of us deserved. Better than we deserved, Harry said. I manipulated a child for 7 years, Dumbledore said. You served a Dark Lord for 6 months. Neither of us emerged with clean hands. Your hands are painted, Harry said. They can't get dirty. The metaphorical hands are filthy, Dumbledore said. I assure you. We're both terrible, Harry said. We're both human, Dumbledore said. Which is, as I have observed, frequently the same thing. Harry looked at the portrait, at the painted version of the man who had been the most important and most damaging presence in his life. The man who had managed and manipulated and withheld, and who had also been, underneath the management, a person who cared about Harry and who had expressed the caring through the only method available to him. Strategy. I don't forgive you, Harry said. I don't ask for forgiveness, Dumbledore said. I ask for understanding. I understand you, Harry said. I understand the management and the strategy and the greater good and the selective honesty. I understand all of it. And I don't forgive it. That is fair, Dumbledore said. Fairness was never your strong suit, Harry said. No, Dumbledore said. It wasn't. Harry stood up, in the chair, for the last time. Goodbye, Professor, Harry said. Goodbye, Harry, Dumbledore said. Try to be kinder to yourself than I was to you. I'll try, Harry said. The trying is the thing, Dumbledore said. The trying is always the thing. Harry left the office. Down the staircase, past the gargoyle, into the corridor. The corridor led out of the castle, into the grounds, into the world, the broken, imperfect, insufficient world that Harry had tried to fix by joining the wrong side, and that he was now going to try to fix by being present on no side. Not light, not dark. Present, the presence was enough. Barely most days. Enough, the boy who lived became the boy who chose wrong. The choosing was understandable. The choosing was wrong. Both things true. Both things permanent. The scar said, someone tried to kill you. The mark said, you tried to join them. The two marks on the same body, the evidence of the victim and the evidence of the volunteer, were the story of Harry Potter in two symbols. He carried both. The scar he didn't choose. The mark he did. The carrying was not redemption. Redemption implied that the wrong could be erased. The wrong could not be erased. The mark could not be removed. The 2 months of genuine service could not be undone. The choice, the 4 seconds in the Forbidden Forest where Harry's arm extended and the wand touched and the burning began, could not be reversed. What could be done was continuing. Continuing past the mistake, past the mark, past the judgment of a world that saw the sleeves and wondered, past the history books that would always include the chapter where the hero became the traitor. Continuing was the work, the daily, grinding, unglamorous work of being a person who had made the worst possible choice, and who was, every morning, choosing to be more than the choice, more than the mark, more than the mistake, more than the 4 seconds. Every morning. The choosing was enough. Barely, most days. Enough, more threads the Slytherin common room. What belonging felt like Harry had never belonged anywhere. The cupboard was confinement. The Dursleys' house was hostile territory. Platform 9 3/4 was wonder. But wonder was not belonging. Wonder was the observation of a world that might accept you. Belonging was the world actually accepting. The Slytherin common room accepted Harry, not with warmth. Slytherin did not do warmth. With placement. The recognition of a person's position within a structure, the assignment of a role, the incorporation of a new element into an existing system. Harry's role was asset. The famous person, the political weight that the house had never possessed, the boy who lived, wearing green, sitting at the green table, representing the refutation of every assumption the wizarding world had made about what the boy who lived should be. The role was impersonal. The role was also, for a boy who had never had a role at all, intoxicating. You matter here, Pansy Parkinson said. 2nd year in the common room. Pansy, who was sharp and political and who viewed every relationship through the lens of utility, not because of who you are, because of what you represent. What do I represent? Harry said. The proof that Slytherin is not what they say we are, Pansy said. The boy who lived chose us, or the hat chose us for him. Either way, the most famous person in the wizarding world is a Slytherin. That changes the narrative. I didn't choose to change any narrative, Harry said. Nobody chooses to be a symbol, Pansy said. Symbols are assigned. The question is what you do with the assignment. What would you do? Harry said. I would use it, Pansy said. Every advantage, every moment of fame, every inch of political capital, I would use it to change the way the world sees this house. And if I don't want to be used, Harry said, then you're in the wrong house, Pansy said. Slytherin uses everything, including itself. Harry was used, not maliciously. The house's use of Harry was not exploitation. It was investment. The house invested in Harry the way investors invested in assets, with the expectation of return, with the maintenance required to keep the asset functional, with the protection necessary to prevent the asset's damage. The protection was the thing Harry noticed. The way Marcus Flint positioned himself between Harry and aggressive Gryffindors in the corridors. The way Gemma Farley, the prefect, ensured that Harry's dormitory was secure. The way Snape's invisible guardianship extended to every Slytherin space Harry occupied. The protection said, "You are ours." The ours said, "You belong." "I belong here," Harry said, to himself, in the dormitory. Third year, looking at the green light filtering through the lake, at the cold stone walls, at the dungeon that was, despite everything, the closest thing to home he had ever known. The belonging was not healthy. The belonging was the attachment of a starved person to the first table that offered food, indiscriminate, desperate, unable to distinguish between nourishment and poison. The Slytherin belonging was real. The Slytherin belonging was also conditional, strategic, and entirely dependent on Harry's continued utility. Harry didn't see the conditionality. Harry saw the belonging. And the seeing the belonging, rather than the seeing the conditionality, was the thing that made the path to the Dark Mark possible. Because belonging, real belonging, unconditional belonging, the kind that the Gryffindor common room might have provided if the hat had sorted differently, belonging like that was the thing that said, "You are valued for who you are, not for what you represent." And the distinction between being valued for who you are and being valued for what you represent was the distinction between a person and a symbol. Harry was a symbol in Slytherin. The house treated the symbol well. The person underneath the symbol was unfed, and the unfed person was the person who 6 years later extended his arm in a forest and accepted a brand. The potions partnership, Harry and Snape's potions class, was the one place at Hogwarts where Harry's Slytherin status was an advantage. Not because Snape gave favourites, Snape's treatment of Slytherin students was fair, which in the context of Snape meant demanding, exacting, and completely devoid of the indulgence that other teachers showed their house students. But fair, the same standards, the same expectations, the same consequences. The advantage was proximity. Harry sat at the front of the potions classroom, Snape's assignment, first day, and the proximity produced a relationship that the other timeline had never allowed. "Your shrinking solution is acceptable," Snape said. October, first year. The word acceptable from Snape was the equivalent of a standing ovation from any other teacher. "Thank you, Professor," Harry said. "Don't thank me," Snape said. "Thank the instructions, which you followed correctly. The following of instructions is not a talent. It is a minimum expectation." "Yes, Professor," Harry said. "Your mother was better at potions than you," Snape said. The sentence was delivered without context, without invitation, without the preceding conversation that would have made it appropriate. Harry looked at him. "You knew my mother?" "I knew Lily Evans," Snape said, "before she was Lily Potter." "Were you friends?" Harry said. "We were. I was the person who told her she was a witch," Snape said. "Before Hogwarts. Before everything." "You told her about magic," Harry said. "I recognized her," Snape said. "The way I recognize all of us. The children who do things they can't explain, who are treated as wrong by the people around them. The children from cupboards," Harry said. Snape looked at him. The Snape look, the scalpel. But the scalpel for once was not cutting. The scalpel was diagnosing. "From cupboards," Snape said, "and from houses on Spinner's End where the father drinks and the mother doesn't intervene." "Your house," Harry said. "My house," Snape confirmed. "The house that produced the same thing your cupboard produced, a person who learned to read danger before they could read words." "The hat said that," Harry said. "About reading danger." The hat sees what I see, Snape said. A survivor. In a house of survivors. Is that why you teach us? Harry said. Because you're one of us? I teach you because it is my profession, Snape said. I understand you, because I lived the prerequisite. The understanding was the foundation of a relationship that the other timeline had never built. The relationship between a damaged teacher and a damaged student who recognized each other's damage without naming it. The recognition was silent, professional, expressed through the potions classroom's specific language of standards and corrections, and the occasional devastating acknowledgement that they were, at the deepest level, the same. 4th year. What the graveyard planted 3 seeds in Harry's mind. The seeds grew over the following 2 years and produced the mark. Seed 1. Voldemort was honest. Not trustworthy, honest. The distinction mattered. Voldemort told Harry things that Dumbledore had withheld. The things were true. The honesty was strategic, deployed for recruitment rather than for Harry's benefit. But the honesty was real. And real honesty from an enemy was more valuable to a 16-year-old than managed truth from a mentor. Seed 2. The prophecy was a trap. Not a destiny. A trap. Made by a seer, overheard by a spy, delivered to Dumbledore, used by Dumbledore to position Harry as a strategic asset. The prophecy was not fate. The prophecy was political intelligence, and the intelligence had been used to shape Harry's life without his knowledge or consent. Seed 3. Harry was a Horcrux. The piece of Voldemort in Harry's scar was the evidence of a connection that Dumbledore had hidden and that Voldemort revealed. The revelation was the most devastating thing Voldemort could have given Harry. Not a curse, not a threat, but the truth about what Harry carried in his head. The seeds grew in the Slytherin soil, the soil of strategic thinking, of institutional distrust, of the house-wide understanding that the system was not designed for Slytherin's benefit. The seeds grew because the soil was fertile and because nobody weeded the garden. Dumbledore could have weeded it, could have told Harry the truth, all of it, every piece, and denied Voldemort the weapon of honesty. But Dumbledore's management habit, the habit of selective truth and strategic timing, meant that the weeding didn't happen. The seeds grew. The mark was the harvest. The battle, what Harry did from inside the 4 months of spying, produced intelligence that saved an estimated 30 to 40 lives during the Battle of Hogwarts. The estimation was Kingsley Shacklebolt's, calculated after the war, based on the correlation between Harry's intelligence reports and the Order's defensive positioning. The intelligence included the timing of the attack. Harry provided the date and the hour, information that allowed the school to evacuate younger students before the Death Eaters arrived. The deployment pattern. Harry mapped the Death Eater forces, which corridor, which entrance, which Death Eater was assigned to which position. The mapping allowed the defenders to concentrate their forces at the most vulnerable points. The identity of Voldemort's reserve force. Harry identified the Acromantulas, the Giants, and the Dementors that Voldemort held in reserve, allowing the Order to prepare countermeasures. The location of Nagini. Harry identified Nagini as the final Horcrux and provided her location to the Order, enabling Neville Longbottom to kill the snake with the sword of Gryffindor during the battle. Neville's kill was the thing, the detail that the history books would record alongside Harry's duel with Voldemort. Neville Longbottom, the other boy the prophecy could have chosen, killing the final Horcrux because Harry Potter, from inside the enemy's lines, had told the Order where to find it. You gave Neville the kill, Draco said, after the battle. I gave Neville the information, Harry said. Neville did the killing. You could have killed Nagini yourself, Draco said. Neville needed to do it, Harry said. The prophecy could have been about him. If it had been, he'd have been in the forest instead of me. He'd have been wearing the mark. You don't know that, Draco said. I know that the prophecy chose me by accident, Harry said. Voldemort chose me, not the universe, not fate. Voldemort chose which baby to target, and the choosing was arbitrary. If Voldemort had chosen Neville, I'd be the one in the tower with the sword, and Neville would be the one with the mark, Draco said. Maybe, Harry said. Or maybe Neville would have been braver than me. Maybe Neville would have resisted what I couldn't. Nobody resists 6 years of institutional rejection, Draco said. Some people do, Harry said. Neville did. Neville was underestimated and overlooked and judged insufficient for 7 years, and he never turned. He just got back up. Neville is a Gryffindor, Draco said. Neville is a person with courage, Harry said. The house is just where they put him. 10 years after the mark, Harry Potter at 27 was a person the wizarding world couldn't categorize. He was not an aura. The dark mark disqualified him from law enforcement. The regulations were clear, the regulations were legal, and the regulations were, Harry acknowledged, understandable. He was not a teacher. Hogwarts could not employ a person with a dark mark. The Board of Governors had voted unanimously, and the vote was, Harry acknowledged, reasonable. He was not a public figure. The public's relationship with Harry Potter was the relationship of a community with a person it could neither celebrate nor condemn. The person who had saved them and served their enemy, who had killed Voldemort and worn Voldemort's brand, who was the hero and the traitor in the same body. Harry worked in the Department of Mysteries. The department valued capability above reputation, secrecy above publicity, and talent above institutional propriety. The Department of Mysteries was the one place in the wizarding world where a person with a dark mark could work without the mark being the first thing people mentioned. The department doesn't care about your arm, Croker said. Harry's supervisor. The same Croker who ran the department with the secretive competence-first methodology that made the department the most effective and least understood branch of the ministry. The department cares about results, Harry said. The department cares about secrets, Croker said. And you, Potter, are the most talented secret keeper I have ever employed. I kept the wrong secrets for 6 months, Harry said. And then you kept the right ones for 4 months, Croker said. And the right ones saved 30 to 40 lives. The department's assessment is that the net is positive. The net is positive, Harry said. That's a very cold way to evaluate a person's morality. The department does not evaluate morality, Croker said. The department evaluates utility. And my utility is positive, Harry said. Your utility is exceptional, Croker said. The morality is your problem. The morality was Harry's problem. The morality was always Harry's problem. The daily, ongoing, never resolved problem of being a person who had done something terrible and who was living with the evidence of the terrible thing on his arm and in his history and in the world's assessment of who he was. He managed it, the way Snape had managed it, through work, through the daily practice of doing enough good to offset the weight of the bad, through the cold, strategic, Slytherin-grade management of a conscience that was simultaneously guilty and clear. Snape managed it for 16 years, Harry said. To Ginny. In the kitchen. Snape also died at 38, Ginny said. Snape died fighting, Harry said. Snape died carrying a weight that no person should carry alone for 16 years, Ginny said. Don't romanticize his death. His death was the consequence of a lifetime of carrying too much. I carry the same thing, Harry said. You carry the same mark, Ginny said. You don't have to carry it the same way. How do I carry it differently? Harry said. You let people help, Ginny said. You let me help. You let Ron help, even though the helping is awkward, and the awkwardness is neither of your faults. You let Hermione help, even though Hermione's helping comes with footnotes, and the footnotes come with judgments, and the judgments are fair. The judgments are fair, Harry said. The judgments are Hermione's way of caring, Ginny said. And Hermione's caring, however academically expressed, is real. I know it's real, Harry said. I know everyone's caring is real. The problem is not the caring. The problem is the mark. The mark is on your arm, Ginny said. It's not on your soul. Some people would disagree, Harry said. Some people didn't live your life, Ginny said. Some people didn't grow up in a cupboard and get sorted into Slytherin and watch the world decide that the sorting made them suspect. Some people didn't lose their godfather because they made the strategic choice instead of the brave one. Some people didn't have a Dark Lord tell them the truth about themselves before their mentor did. You're making excuses for me, Harry said. I'm providing context, Ginny said. Context is not excuses. Context is the map of how a person gets from A to B. The map doesn't justify B. The map explains the route. And the route was understandable, Ginny said, and wrong, and carried. Every day, Harry said. Until it's not carried, Ginny said. Until the carrying becomes, not lighter, because it doesn't get lighter, but different. Until the carrying becomes the thing you do instead of the thing that's done to you. Active carrying instead of passive carrying, Harry said. Chosen carrying instead of imposed carrying, Ginny said. I chose the mark, Harry said. Then choose what you do with it, Ginny said. The choosing is yours. It's always been yours. Harry looked at the sleeve, at the arm underneath, at the evidence that was permanent and that would never fade, and that was, for the rest of his life, the first thing he thought about every morning and the last thing he thought about every night. He chose, every morning, the same choice, to be more than the mark, to carry the evidence without being defined by it, to live in the space between the scar and the brand, between the victim and the volunteer, between the boy who was attacked and the man who chose wrong. The space was narrow. The space was all he had. The space was enough. The sorting hat said Slytherin and the world said wrong. 6 years later, Harry proved them right. Not because Slytherin made him a Death Eater, because the world's response to the sorting created the conditions where a Death Eater was possible. The cupboard taught him that nobody was coming. The sorting taught him that the world decided who you were before you decided yourself. The system's failures taught him that the people in charge could not be trusted. The graveyard taught him that the enemy was more honest than the mentor. The godfather's death taught him that the smart choice killed the people you loved. Each lesson was accurate. Each lesson was incomplete. The accumulation of accurate, incomplete lessons produced a decision that was understandable and catastrophic. The decision was Harry's. The conditions were everyone's. That was the tragedy. Not the mark, not the war, not the 6 months of service, or the 4 months of spying, or the 4 seconds in the forest. The tragedy was that the boy who lived was also the boy who was failed by a system that sorted children at 11 and treated the sorting as prophecy, by a mentor who managed truth like ammunition, by a world that decided the colour of a tie was a moral judgment, failed by everyone, including himself. The mark was the evidence. The evidence was permanent. The living was the response. The living was daily. Harry Potter lived. With the scar and the mark, with the evidence of the victim and the volunteer, with the daily, grinding, unglamorous work of being more than the worst thing he ever did, more than the mark. Every day. That was enough. Barely, most days. Enough? Final threads. What Voldemort didn't understand. Voldemort's recruitment of Harry was Voldemort's greatest tactical victory and his greatest strategic failure. The failure was characteristic. The Voldemort grade failure of a person who understood manipulation but not people. Voldemort understood Harry's grievances, understood the institutional rejection, the mentor's manipulation, the system's corruption, understood these things because Voldemort had experienced analogous versions: the orphanage, Dumbledore's distance, the wizarding world's prejudice against half-bloods. Voldemort did not understand Harry's character. "You recruited a Gryffindor," Bellatrix said, after Harry's defection. After the spy work was revealed, after Voldemort realized that the boy who lived had been feeding intelligence to the Order for 4 months. "I recruited a Slytherin," Voldemort said. "You recruited a Slytherin body with a Gryffindor soul," Bellatrix said. "The hat sorted him into our house. His heart was never in it." "Hearts are irrelevant," Voldemort said. Loyalty is what he gave the other side," Bellatrix said. "The moment he saw what we actually do, the moment the ideology became reality, the torture, the killing, the things that the recruitment speech doesn't mention." "He was weak," Voldemort said. "He was moral," Bellatrix said, which is, from your perspective, the same thing. Voldemort's failure to understand Harry was the same failure that had cost him the First War, the inability to comprehend that love, loyalty, and moral conviction were not weaknesses to be exploited, but forces that could not be contained once activated. Harry's defection was not strategic. Harry did not defect because the odds changed or because the political calculation shifted. Harry defected because he saw children being killed, and the seeing activated the part of him that the sorting had never touched, the part that was Lily Evans's son, the part that responded to innocent suffering with the involuntary, uncalculated, entirely non-strategic response of a person who could not watch people die and do nothing. "You can't watch," Voldemort said, in the last conversation before Harry's defection became known. "You turn away." "When the Muggles, I don't turn away," Harry said. "I see everything." "Then you are weak," Voldemort said. "Because seeing and not acting is..." "I'm not acting," Harry said. "I'm deciding." "Deciding what?" Voldemort said. "Which side to act on," Harry said. Voldemort looked at Harry, the red eyes, the assessment of a Dark Lord who was, for one of the very few times in his existence, uncertain, because the sentence Harry had just spoken was not the sentence of a loyal servant or a strategic defector. It was the sentence of a person who was choosing, and the choosing was the one thing Voldemort could not control. "You cannot choose against me," Voldemort said. The mark is on my arm," Harry said. "Not in my head. The mark compels proximity," Harry said. "It does not compel agreement. You branded my skin. You did not brand my mind. My mind is the thing you can't reach," Harry said. "Because Snape taught me occlumency. Because the shields are up. Because the one useful thing about being a Slytherin is that Slytherins learn to protect their thoughts. Snape taught you occlumency," Voldemort said. The calculation, the terrible, rapid Dark Lord calculation, producing the conclusion. "Snape is a better spy than you deserve," Harry said. The sentence was the end of the recruitment, the end of the pretense, the sentence that told Voldemort, "I was never yours. I wore the mask. I took the mark. I served the cause. And underneath the mask and the mark and the service, I was Lily Evans's son, and Lily Evans's son does not watch people die." Neville's perspective, Neville Longbottom, watched Harry Potter become a Death Eater, and Neville Longbottom said nothing. The nothing was not approval. The nothing was the silence of a person who was processing the unprocessable, the knowledge that the person the prophecy had chosen had joined the person who chose. "He took the mark," Neville said. "To Luna. In the room of requirement. 7th year." "I know," Luna said. "He joined Voldemort," Neville said. "I know," Luna said. "The prophecy chose him," Neville said, "over me." The prophecy said, Harry Potter is the one with the power. Harry Potter is the chosen one. And the chosen one chose Voldemort. The prophecy didn't choose Harry, Luna said. Voldemort chose Harry. The prophecy identified two options. Voldemort made the selection. And the selection, the person who was selected, joined the selector, Neville said. Which means the prophecy's selection was perhaps the wrong one, Luna said. Are you saying... I'm saying the prophecy didn't fail, Luna said. The prophecy identified two people with the power to vanquish the Dark Lord. Harry was chosen. Harry chose wrong. The other person, the one who wasn't chosen, is still here. I'm still here, Neville said. You're still here, Luna confirmed. And the sword is in the hat. The sword of Gryffindor, Neville said. Which appears to those who need it, Luna said. The sword appeared for Harry in the chamber. The sword appears for Gryffindors. I'm a Gryffindor, Neville said. You're a Gryffindor who the prophecy identified as a possible vanquisher of Dark Lords, Luna said. And the primary vanquisher is currently wearing the wrong mask. You're saying it falls to me, Neville said. I'm saying the sword is in the hat, Luna said. And the hat knows who needs it. Neville killed Nagini in the battle with the sword of Gryffindor, which appeared to him because the sword appeared to Gryffindors who needed it, and because Neville, who had spent 7 years getting back up every time he was knocked down, needed it. The killing of Nagini was the act that made Harry's final duel with Voldemort possible. Without Nagini's death, Voldemort was still anchored by a Horcrux. With Nagini dead, Voldemort was mortal, and the mortal Voldemort was the Voldemort that Harry's Expelliarmus could defeat. You killed the snake, Harry said. To Neville. After the battle. Someone had to, Neville said. I should have. You did what you could from where you were, Neville said. I did what I could from where I was. We both did what we could. You did more, Harry said. I did differently, Neville said. You fought from inside. I fought from outside. The inside and the outside both were necessary. You're being very generous, Harry said. I'm being very honest, Neville said. The generous version would include forgiving you. I'm not there yet. I don't expect forgiveness, Harry said. Good, Neville said. Because the mark is, Harry, the mark is the thing. The mark is the thing that makes forgiveness complicated. I know, Harry said. My parents are in St. Mungo's because of people with that mark, Neville said. My parents don't recognize me because of what that symbol represents. And you're wearing it. I know, Harry said. And I know you were a spy, Neville said. And I know you saved lives. And I know the circumstances. And I know all of it. And I still see the mark, and I think about my parents. That's fair, Harry said. It's not fair or unfair, Neville said. It's what it is. What it is, Harry said. What it is, Neville confirmed. They stood in the ruins of Hogwarts. The Gryffindor and the Slytherin. The person the prophecy didn't choose, and the person who chose wrong. Two people who should have been closer, who might have been closer, in another timeline, in another sorting, standing in the rubble of a battle they had both helped win from opposite sides. I'll get there, Neville said. The forgiveness. Eventually, take your time, Harry said. I will, Neville said. I'm very patient. That's a Hufflepuff quality, Harry said. I was almost sorted into Hufflepuff, Neville said. The hat considered it. The hat considers a lot of things, Harry said. The hat considered Gryffindor for me. And then it chose Slytherin, Neville said. And then it chose Slytherin, Harry confirmed. The hat's choices, Neville said. Complicated, the hat's choices, Harry agreed. Complicated. 20 years later, the dinner 20 years after the Battle of Hogwarts, Harry Potter attended a dinner at the Burrow. The invitation was Molly's. Molly Weasley, who had spent 20 years processing the impossible, the boy who lived becoming a Death Eater and then becoming the spy who helped save her children, had decided that 20 years was enough processing. "Come to dinner," Molly wrote. "Bring Ginny. Bring the children. Come home." The word home was the word that made Harry's hands shake, not the dark mark kind of shaking, the other kind. The kind that happened when a person who had never had a home was invited to one. "We should go," Ginny said. "Your family, my family, has been dealing with you for 20 years, Ginny said. They've had time to process. Ron has had 20 years to process, Ginny said. And Ron is Ron. Ron loves you. Ron has always loved you. The love was complicated by the mark, and the complication has been ongoing for 20 years, Harry said. "Some complications take time," Ginny said. They went. To the Burrow, to the kitchen table where Molly's cooking filled every surface, and where the Weasley family gathered the way they had always gathered, loudly, messily, with the chaotic warmth that was the family's defining quality. Harry sat at the table, in the seat that Molly had set for him, the seat beside Ron, the seat that said, "You belong here." Ron was there, 47 years old, an aura. A father, a person who had spent 20 years carrying the regret of a friendship that a Sorting Hat had prevented. "Hey," Ron said. "Hey," Harry said. The same words. The same corridor outside Charms 36 years ago. Two people who had been friends for a train ride and who were trying, after everything, the sorting, the war, the mark, the 20 years, to be friends again. "Pass the potatoes," Ron said. Harry passed the potatoes. The passing was ordinary. The ordinary was everything. The ordinary was the evidence that two people could sit at a table and pass potatoes, and that the passing was not complicated by the mark or the sorting or the 20 years of distance. The potatoes were potatoes. The table was a table. The dinner was dinner. "More chicken?" Molly said. "Please," Harry said. "You're too thin," Molly said. "You've always been too thin." "I eat. You don't eat enough," Molly said. "You never have, since you were 11. She mothers everyone," Ron said. "It's genetic. It's love," Molly said, "which is also genetic, in this family." Harry ate the chicken. At the Burrow table, with the Weasley family, with the noise and the warmth and the chaotic, imperfect, completely unconditional thing that Molly Weasley offered every person who sat at her table. The unconditional was the thing the Slytherin common room had never provided, the thing that was offered without calculation, without strategic assessment, without the evaluation of utility, the thing that said, "You are here. You are fed. You are welcome, thank you," Harry said to Molly at the end of the dinner. "Don't thank me," Molly said. "Come back next Sunday." "Every Sunday?" Harry said. "Every Sunday," Molly said, "until you stop looking like someone who's surprised to be fed." "That might take a while," Harry said. "I have time," Molly said. "I have a lot of time." Harry went to the Burrow every Sunday, for the rest of Molly's life. Every Sunday, at the table, with the potatoes and the chicken and the noise and the warmth. The mark was on his arm, the sleeve was rolled down, nobody mentioned it. The not mentioning was not denial, the not mentioning was grace. Grace, the thing that Slytherin did not teach, the thing that Voldemort could not give, the thing that Dumbledore could not manage, the thing that a red-haired woman in a crooked house offered to a boy with a scar and a brand and the weight of every decision between them. Come back next Sunday, every Sunday, until the surprise stops. He was the boy who lived and the boy who chose wrong. Both things. All the time. The scar that said, someone tried to kill you. The mark that said, you tried to join them. The two symbols on the same body, carried for the same lifetime, visible to the same world. The world judged. The world would always judge. The sleeves would always be down, and the wondering would always be there, and the history books would always include the chapter where the hero became the traitor. But the burrow was there too. The table. The chicken. The Sunday dinners where the mark was covered and the grace was not, and where a woman who had lost a son to the war fed the boy who had fought on the wrong side because the feeding was love, and love did not require understanding. Love required presence. Love required a table. Love required passing the potatoes. Harry passed the potatoes. Every Sunday. For the rest of his life. The passing was not redemption. The passing was practice. The practice of being present. The practice of accepting grace without deserving it. The practice of sitting at a table and being fed by people who had chosen not to mention the thing on his arm. The practice was enough. The grace was enough. The Sundays were enough. Barely, most days. Enough? Let us know what you'd like to see next. Remaining threads the Slytherin prejudice. What the world did the Wizarding World's treatment of Slytherin students was the soil in which Harry's radicalization grew, and the treatment was not accidental. The treatment was institutional, built into the school's architecture, maintained by the staff's biases, reinforced by 1,000 years of narrative that said, Slytherin is where the bad ones go. The treatment was visible in every interaction outside the common room. Slytherin students receive approximately 40% more point deductions than the school average, Hermione reported. Third year. She had conducted the analysis because Hermione conducted analysis the way other people breathed, compulsively, comprehensively, and with results that could not be denied. 40%, Harry said. Adjusted for incident severity, the disparity increases to 53%, Hermione said. A Gryffindor student caught hexing in the corridor receives an average deduction of 5 points. A Slytherin student caught hexing in the corridor receives an average deduction of 15. That's 3 times, Harry said. That is institutional bias, Hermione said. Documented, quantifiable institutional bias. And you're showing me this because the bias is real, Hermione said. And because the reality of the bias does not justify what you might do in response to it. What might I do? Harry said. I don't know, Hermione said. But the trajectory concerns me. The trajectory concerned Hermione because Hermione saw the trajectory the way Hermione saw everything, analytically, comprehensively, with the awareness that patterns, once identified, produce predictions, and the predictions produced fear. The trajectory was Harry Potter, each year, trusting the institution less. Each year, trusting Slytherin more. Each year, moving further from the centre toward the edge where the edge met the abyss. The abyss was Voldemort. The edge was the legitimate grievance. The space between the edge and the abyss was measured in inches, and Hermione could see the inches shrinking. Talk to Dumbledore, Hermione said. Dumbledore is the institution, Harry said. Dumbledore is a person who can change the institution, Hermione said. Dumbledore doesn't change things, Harry said. Dumbledore manages things. Management is not change. Management is the maintenance of the status quo with minor adjustments. That's cynical, Hermione said. That's observed, Harry said. I've been observing Dumbledore for 3 years. The observation produces cynicism. Cynicism is the midpoint between accuracy and despair, Hermione said. That's a very Hermione observation, Harry said. It's a very accurate one, Hermione said. And the question is which direction the midpoint moves, toward accuracy or toward despair. You're afraid I'm moving toward despair, Harry said. I'm afraid you're moving toward the thing beyond despair, Hermione said. The thing where despair becomes action. Where the despair becomes, Harry, where the despair becomes recruitment. Nobody is recruiting me, Harry said. Not yet, Hermione said, but the conditions for recruitment are present. The grievance, the isolation, the distrust of authority, the proximity to people whose families serve the alternative. You're describing a radicalization pattern, Harry said. I'm describing your last 3 years, Hermione said. That's... Harry stopped. The stopping was the recognition, the moment where Hermione's analysis hit the thing that Harry didn't want to see. You see it, Hermione said. I see it, Harry said, and I don't know what to do about it. Let me help, Hermione said. You can't help, Harry said. You're in Gryffindor. Helping from Gryffindor is, the help comes with the assumption that the helper is right and the helped is wrong. I don't assume you're wrong, Hermione said. You assume the institution can be fixed, Harry said. I'm not sure it can. Then we disagree, Hermione said. And the disagreement is the space where the conversation happens. The conversation has been happening for 3 years, Harry said. Then it happens for 3 more, Hermione said. And 3 after that. And however many years it takes. Because the alternative to the conversation is the silence, and the silence is where the despair becomes action. You're saying the conversation prevents the radicalization, Harry said. I'm saying the conversation is the only thing I can offer, Hermione said. And I'm offering it, even though I'm in Slytherin, Harry said. Especially because you're in Slytherin, Hermione said. Because someone needs to keep talking across the divide, and I am. I am the person who talks. You are the person who talks, Harry said. I am the person who talks, Hermione confirmed. The conversation continued, through 3rd year, 4th year, 5th year. The library meetings, the corridor encounters, the small, persistent Hermione-quality refusal to let the divide become permanent. The conversation was not enough to prevent the mark. The conversation was enough to make the undoing possible. Because when Harry decided to defect, when the horror of what he saw inside Voldemort's organisation overwhelmed the grievance that had driven him there, the person Harry thought about was not Dumbledore or Draco or Snape. The person Harry thought about was Hermione, saying, "The conversation is the only thing I can offer." The conversation. The persistent, 3-year, never giving up conversation of a person who kept talking across the divide, because the talking was the thing that mattered. The talking was not enough to prevent the mistake. The talking was enough to remind Harry that the mistake was a mistake, and the reminding was the thing that made the correction possible. Harry's children, Harry and Ginny, had 3 children. The naming was, complicated, James Sirius Potter, named for the father and the godfather, the names of the people who had loved Harry and who Harry had failed to save in ways that the naming could not compensate for. Lily Luna Potter, named for the mother and the friend. The names of the women who had seen Harry clearly, Lily through sacrifice, Luna through perception, and who had loved what they saw. Albus Severus Potter, named for the 2 headmasters, the 2 manipulators, the 2 men who had shaped Harry's life through management and protection and the complicated, insufficient, occasionally devastating thing that each of them had called love. You named a child after Dumbledore and Snape, Ron said. I named a child after the 2 people who made the biggest mistakes with my life, Harry said. Because the naming is the acknowledgement that mistakes and love are not mutually exclusive. That's very philosophical, Harry said. I know. I was going to say complicated, Ron said. Complicated is the only thing I do, Harry said. You also do Sunday dinners, Ron said. Those are simple. Sunday dinners are the simplest thing in my life, Harry said, and the most important. Mum would agree, Ron said. Molly is right about everything that matters, Harry said. Don't tell her that, Ron said. She'll be insufferable. She's already insufferable, Harry said, in the best possible way. Albus Severus Potter was sorted into Slytherin. The sorting happened. The hat dropped over Albus's eyes. The hat did what the hat did, assessed, evaluated, categorized. The hat said Slytherin. And the Great Hall did not go silent. Because the silence had happened once, 20 years ago for Albus's father, and the silence had produced a chain of events that ended with a dark mark. And the wizarding world had learned slowly, painfully through the education that catastrophe provides, that the silence was part of the problem. The hat said Slytherin. And the Great Hall applauded. The same applause that greeted every sorting. The applause that said, welcome, regardless of the colour. Harry was in the corridor outside the Great Hall, listening, hearing the applause. The applause was the thing, the applause that Harry had not received, the applause that had been replaced, for Harry, by silence, and that the silence had helped produce the mark. Albus would not receive silence. Albus would receive applause. And the applause would be the beginning of a different story, a story where a Slytherin child was welcomed rather than suspected, where the green tie was a tie rather than a judgment, where the sorting was the sorting rather than the sentencing. He'll be fine, Ginny said, beside Harry. In the corridor. He'll be fine because the world is better than it was, Harry said. The world is better because the worst thing happened and the world learned from it, Ginny said. The worst thing being me, Harry said. The worst thing being the system that produced you, Ginny said. You were the symptom. The system was the disease. And the treatment, Harry said. Applause, Ginny said, for a Slytherin child. In a hall full of people who have decided that the colour of a tie is not a moral judgment. That's the treatment, Harry said. That's the beginning, Ginny said. Harry stood in the corridor and listened to the applause and felt, not the absence that the mark usually produced, something else, something that was not joy and not relief and not redemption. Recognition, the recognition that the world could change, that the system that had produced Harry's catastrophe could be reformed, that the applause, the simple, ordinary, nobody thinks about it applause for a child being sorted into a house, was the evidence of change. The change was not complete. The change was ongoing. The change was the daily, grinding, institution by institution, person by person work of building a world where the sorting was the sorting and not the sentencing. Harry had contributed to the change, not through heroism, through catastrophe. His failure had been the lesson. His mark had been the evidence. His story had been the warning that the system heeded. The warning was not the legacy Harry wanted. The warning was the legacy Harry had. And the legacy, like the mark, was permanent. And the permanence, like the mark, was carried every day, with the sleeves down and the evidence hidden and the work ongoing. The work of being more than the worst thing. The work of Sunday dinners and corridor applause and children with complicated names. The work of enough. Kill the spare, the Dark Lord said, and a boy died in a graveyard. Sort the child, the hat said, and a boy died in a different way, slowly, over 6 years. The death of the person he might have been, replaced by the person the sorting made him. Both deaths were real. Both deaths produced consequences. The graveyard death produced a body. The sorting death produced a Death Eater. The Death Eater survived. The Death Eater defected. The Death Eater killed the Dark Lord and carried the mark and lived with the evidence and ate Sunday dinners at a crooked house and named a child after the men who had shaped him and watched that child be sorted into the same house and heard, not silence. Applause? The applause was the ending. Not the war, not the duel, not the victory. The applause. For a child in green, at a table with a serpent. In a school that had learned, through the catastrophe of one boy's mark, that the colour of a tie was not a sentence. The applause was enough. The Sundays were enough. The carrying was enough. Barely, most days. Enough?